What was that? You guys want freezer meals? Hang on. You want an hour and a half of freezer meal recipes from me? I mean, what else am I gonna do but give it to you? Do you have a beverage? Do you have somewhere to sit? Do you have a chore you need to do around your house? Get comfortable, my friends. Freezer meal marathon coming your way right now. Let's get started. So the first two things I'm gonna do is start cooking my filling for a chicken pot pie. I'm gonna make two large, I think two, maybe three. We'll see how much filling I end up with. Chicken pot pies, and we're just gonna freeze them with the raw dough on top. And while that's cooking, we're gonna make some chicken taquitos because those are super freezer friendly. I have in this bowl several stalks of celery, the remainder of the carrots that I had in my fridge, and like 2 or 3 chopped onions. My kids are rinsing off russet potatoes outside right now. We're gonna add those as well. And the way I make chicken pot pie is a little bit different than a lot of different recipes that I've seen. It's mostly veggies and very little chicken. And then I thicken it with butter and heavy whipping cream. And if it's still too thin, a little bit of dehydrated potato. I'm gonna dump these in my pot right over there, and we will move to the chicken taquitos because it comes together so easily. So I'm gonna go dump these in. Okay, my vegetables are sauteing over here. So we're gonna move to the chicken taquitos, the creamy chicken taquitos. Now, I think I got this recipe from Our Best Bites, I believe. I will leave the recipe down below for you. It's so delicious. I'm gonna try and double this, and we'll see kind of how much we end up with, but I may end up making another batch, but I don't know if I can fit more than double in this glass bowl. So we'll just kind of see how it goes. So if I was gonna make these taquitos fresh, like right now, I would just spray the top with some cooking spray and stick them right in the oven for 15 minutes. But as it is, I'm going to freeze them, and so when it comes time to cook, it'll be 25 minutes instead of 15. Still super fast, and then there's no prep work. I think this is a great option because every time I've made these, everybody raves about them. They're like, oh, I don't know, and then they take a bite and they say, wow, these are delicious. If you do nothing else from this video except make these taquitos, I would say that would be worth watching the video. 2/3 cup of cream cheese. You have no idea how much that is. Okay, that does not look like very much. I feel like I might need to triple this. Okay, I'm gonna triple this and use a bigger bowl. Is that overkill? that looks like a lot. Okay, 1 cup, which I think is this entire thing. 1 cup of soft cream cheese. There we go. I feel better about that. We're tripling it. That's what we're doing. I have a big family. They eat a lot. I made this for a family reunion once. I made up the filling and put it in a Tupperware and took it to the family reunion and then just rolled them up with the tortillas last minute and popped them in the oven for 15 minutes for lunch, like a lunch with fruit for about 30 people. Such a hit. 3/4 of a cup of salsa. I am using this guac salsa right here. Oh yeah. If you don't like guacamole, then regular salsa is probably okay. But I love guacamole, so. Salsa and cream cheese, what else do you need? Oh my gosh, I just had a great idea for like a cream cheese salsa chicken dish. Okay, focus on what I'm doing. Lime juice, I'll squeeze 2 limes in here with my citrus juicer. I love this guy. If you guys don't have one of these, I'll leave it down below. It's one of those things that like I never thought I knew I needed. Wow, these are very juicy limes. Okay, maybe I'll go with 2 or 2 halves. Maybe I'll go with 1 whole one and then see kind of how it feels. Cumin, onion powder, garlic powder. And we'll go with 1.5 teaspoons of each of these. And cumin, heaping is probably okay. I love cumin, I love the smokiness of it. Now some chili powder, not too much. Okay, time to put chili powder on the list. 1 tablespoon of chili powder. Remember, I'm tripling this. It calls for some green onion, which I don't have, so we won't do that. And fresh cilantro, which I rinsed in my salad spinner. If you guys don't have one of these yet, I love it. It's so sturdy. I'm having a hard time breaking it, which is great because I've broken every other one I've ever had. Chop up this cilantro. I'll just do 1 whole bunch in here. Because I'm tripling this, we're gonna put in 6 cups of chicken. Here's one of my, I ended up with 3 of these containers of shredded chicken. And I'm gonna measure in this approximately 6 cups. Still feel like I need more cream cheese, but we'll kind of see what it looks like once I mix it up. Okay, that's like 4, that's probably good. And 3 cups of pepper jack cheese. You can use whatever cheese you like, but my family likes pepper jack quite a bit. So this was just a block that I shredded up with a food processor. Makes it so easy. Okay, 3 cups-ish of cheese, there we go. And we will mix this up, probably with my hand mixer, just because it makes it quick. Okay, here we go. And if it looks kind of dry, we'll add more stuff. I think I will add the rest of the lime. Yeah. So it looks like this right now. So just a hair dry. We're gonna add more lime and I think some more salsa. This time I'm gonna go just with your standard paste picante. Just a little bit. Maybe 1/4 of a cup, 1/3 of a cup, somewhere in there. This is what the filling looks like. And I'm gonna scoop it in my tortillas and roll them up. I have these huge tortillas and these smaller ones, and whatever is fine. If you use the big ones, I would recommend maybe chopping them in half just because they're really, really large. So we'll just start with one and see where we go and see how many we end up with. 2 pans of the chicken taquitos at 6 each I ended up using the huge tortillas. Look how big these are. A whole lasagna noodle would fit this length of this. So these are really, really large. Seal these tight with saran wrap foil, put the instructions on top and stick these in the freezer. Now, I think that my chicken pot pie filling is about ready for the chicken and the other ingredients, so let's go check that out. Okay, this is looking pretty good to me. So I'm gonna add my chicken. It's probably about 4 or 5 cups of cooked chicken. You can cook it any way you like. Stir that in and add my thickening ingredients. I do like to add some butter for richness. There's seriously no measurements when it comes to this recipe, honestly. It's however much I decide to throw in here and however much ends up in here. So I'm just doing a stick because this is a lot. I usually have heavy whipping cream, but I don't today. So we're gonna go with half and half instead, which is also fine. Give it some richness as well. A little bit more pepper. And let me go get my other veggies and toss those in. A little stir to get that butter melting, and I will be right back with my other canned veggies. Okay, I have some canned peas, a 28-ounce can, and I drained it already. This I found is really the only good use for canned peas. Otherwise they're mush. And I have this like green beans with some shelled beans in here. I don't know what that's about, but we're gonna throw that in too. I've used all kinds of vegetables in here, anything from broccoli to asparagus to sugar snap peas. Basically whatever vegetables you like are going to work in here. So we're gonna stir all this around, taste for salt and pepper. And if it still seems a little thin, like it's a touch liquidy to me, I might add a little bit of dehydrated potatoes just to thicken it a hair before I dump it into my freezer meal pans. Way more salt. A little bit more pepper too. This is like, I mean, this is a ton of filling here. Let's stir that around. And you know, if it looks too thick, you can add more half and half or chicken broth or something. Too thin, cook it out a little bit or add the potato flakes. Seriously, try broccoli in here, it's really good. And I am gonna just sprinkle a little bit of the dehydrated potatoes, not very much, to thicken it a little bit more, and then we will pour it into our pans and see what we have. Just make sure when you're doing this, just taste it before you actually make the pie. And make sure your salt and pepper levels are good, because I needed more salt. We are now going to make my favorite pie crust recipe ever. I will have a link to the recipe on my website. The key to this pie crust is the vinegar and the use of butter flavored shortening. It makes it really, really easy to work with. The shortening does. Butter can be so difficult to work with in a pie crust. The butter flavor makes it taste good, and the vinegar helps it to be like super flaky and tender. I have tried so many pie crusts trying to find like the perfect one that tasted good and was easy to work with, and this is the winner. I shared it with my stepmom, who fell in love with it also, and now this is the only one I use for anything. It's really easy to put together, although it does make a little bit of a mess, and I took my standard recipe and divvied it up into 3 really small amounts to put into my 3 pans, and I only did a top crust and not a bottom crust. And then I moved on to my chicken enchiladas. This is a recipe I got from my sister-in-law way back, like early on in my marriage. And it is one of the few recipes that I do that calls for cream of whatever soup. So this one's cream of mushroom soup, and I am tripling it, which is why you see 3 cans here. This is the topping I'm mixing up with the sour cream, the milk, and the green chilies. I had gotten a huge can of just whole green chilies and chopped them up myself. And you just mix all that together, and that's going to be like your enchilada sauce. It's kind of like a sour cream chicken enchilada with some cream cheese in the filling with the chicken. It's really delicious. If you have some of these ingredients just around, maybe give it a try anyway. After I did the topping, I mixed up the filling for the chicken enchiladas, which is cream cheese, some spices, and the chicken. So I'm measuring out 6 cups of chicken, for the filling for my 3 batches of chicken enchiladas. And I'm using my little hand mixer again to mix this all up. And then I'm adding in some sauteed onions and green chilies that I sauteed in some butter. The depth of flavor that adds is really, really nice, so I recommend not skipping that step. And then you just fill it up like normal enchiladas. You see a couple holes in my tortillas because they ripped a little as I was separating them out. I'm not the best at that. And filled up all of my freezer tin meal tray thingies, poured my sauce or my topping all over the top, and then topped all of them with cheese. After I got to that point, I topped each one with some wax paper and then foil, labeled the foil, and they were ready to stick into the freezer. I dislike making enchiladas most of the time because they're so time consuming, but I really enjoyed making 3 batches at once and having it ready. I don't know what to call this, but we jokingly call it like cheesy potato chicken bacon bake or something like that. But it's essentially potatoes, like chunked up potatoes, chunked up chicken with a fat and salt and pepper kind of all mixed together, and then topped with crumbled bacon and cheese. We are going to put a cover on this and bake it in the oven at about 375 degrees for an hour. Take the lid off and let it go another 30 or so. It does take a very long time to bake, but it's a huge crowd pleaser in my house. There's really no recipe to this. I originally made it in a 9x13 pan, and we gobbled it up so fast that now I make it in a 10x15. So this is a 10x15 Pyrex baking dish. And the idea is that as soon as I have this in the oven, I will prep some more of my potatoes right here and a little bit more of my chicken, and make 2 freezer meal versions of this covered with a creamy sauce so the potatoes don't go gray. It's a little bit of an experiment, but we're gonna see how it goes. But for now, I'm putting foil on this and it's going in the oven for dinner tonight. Here we go, 2 more completed freezer potato cheesy chicken bake whatever. I made them exactly the same as the large one that I put in the oven. The only thing I did different is if you have heavy cream, you can just use that and kind of cover the potatoes with the heavy cream to protect them from turning brown. But I didn't have any of that. So I improvised with some half and half and sour cream, and I mixed them together. It's probably about 4 cups of half and half with 1 16-ounce container of sour cream, mixed it all up with a whisk and a little bit of crushed red pepper flake, and kind of poured it on top, made sure all the potatoes had been covered, and then top with bacon and cheese, covered these with foil, and they are going directly into the freezer with the rest of my freezer meals, and we are almost done prepping this chicken. This is what the potato bake looks like when it's done. It should be a little browner on top. I probably should have turned the oven to broil, but the potatoes and chicken are cooked 100%. The kitchen smells amazing, and I did make a little salad to go with it. So this is our dinner for tonight, and I've got 2 more in the freezer. So I'm gonna start by making a whole bunch of French toast. My kids love French toast. It's not something I make very often, so I have a big griddle heating up right here. So let's mix up our batter and rock and roll through this French toast. While I'm waiting on all my French toast to cook, I thought I would mix up this Pillsbury quick bread and muffin mix. I got these from my discount store for 75 cents, and I have 2. So we're gonna mix these up and make some jumbo muffins, which you can also freeze. So I am just following the instructions on the back of the box. So I have 4 eggs in here, 2 cups of milk, and 2/3 of a cup of coconut oil is what I'm gonna use. And it's kind of liquidy, kind of not. And it's whiskey business time. Time to scoop. Not quite. I'm gonna put together some breakfast burritos and freeze them. And I have these massive burritos. Oh my gosh, these are fully cooked. So I'm gonna use these now. I cooked up a bunch of the happy eggs. I just cracked them into a bowl with salt and pepper and heavy cream, and I have some cheese here. You could, of course, do potatoes and salsa and sour cream and peppers and onions. But today we're gonna use the KISS method, which is keep it simple, stupid. So it's just gonna be sausage, egg, and cheese, and simple, simple, simple. So since these are so big, I'm gonna do 2 like that. And remember, these are totally cooked. I don't even need to do anything to these. So I'm gonna do 2 just like that. A little sprinkly dinkle of cheese. I can't remember if you guys said you liked that phrase or not. Maybe that's a no. Maybe we'll X-nay the weird words. A little bit of eggs. The yolks on these eggs were so orange that the color is quite dark. And I feel like I'm overfilling these. I always do that. Let's make these a little smaller. I mean, these tortillas are like Chipotle version. Now that I have my filling on, hopefully I can do this right. Corners first, then flip, and then all the way down. Boom! I ended up with 15 burritos with the amount of eggs that I had. And you might be saying, Christine, this is only 14 burritos. And you're right, that's because I can't meal prep without my kids stealing some of the food. We are making a zucchini bacon like quiche, kind of. So I have in here 6 eggs, to which I will add some basil. I'm just kind of eyeballing all of this. I would say about a teaspoon each of basil and oregano, a generous amount of salt and pepper. Give that a good mix, and then we'll add everything else. In a very large skillet, this is about 14 inches, I'm going to add 1 to 2 onions, depending on how much you like onions. And I'm gonna let those get started, just because onions take a while to cook. And I don't like raw onions, just personally. I feel like they're really sharp tasting. Let those go for a few minutes, and then we're gonna add some more veggies. Okay, once your onions look like this, I'm gonna add 8 cups of quartered zucchini, and then just cook that until it is soft. So those are going in, as well as 6 slices of cooked and crumbled bacon, and 2 cups of mozzarella, and 2 cups of Colby Jack cheese. Wow, right? So all we're gonna do now is kind of stir all of this together. I know it's a little nuts. I feel like quiche is the wrong word for this mixture, because it's more like zucchini, cheese, bacon yumminess. Can we call it that? And then the crust is gonna come together so easy. You are going to love it. So here is our mixture with the cheese, eggs, zucchini, bacon, spices. Look how good that looks. So set that to the side. And right here, I have a 10 by 15 pan because I feel like I always overcrowd my pans. So you can do a 9 by 13, but I am not going to. And I have 2 crescent roll. They're not even the same brand. 1 Pillsbury, 1 Great Value, doesn't matter. These are gonna be our crust today. So open these up without popping them on your hand and hurting yourself or screaming. This always happens to me, always. Oh, sweet. Now I can hit it on the side of the counter, I love that. Ready? Yes. So we're basically just spreading these out until they look like a good crust. And I do want it, I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it. I do want it to go up the side a little bit. So I think this second one we'll have to break apart and kind of do a little differently. You could also cut this recipe in half and make it in a pie pan. And in that case, you would separate out all of the triangles. You do want to try and seal all the holes so the filling doesn't leak out all over the place. Clearly, I'm not very worried about presentation here. So there's our crescent dough crust. And before we pour the filling in, a little bit of mustard is gonna go in here first. And this is about gone, oh no! All right, time to put mustard on the shopping list. And that one's gone. Another one bites the dust. Give that a little paint to spread it out. Filling in here, woo! Tell me that does not already look amazing. We haven't even cooked it yet. So this is gonna go into a 375-degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes after I answer the phone. Okay, once this comes out of the oven, you're gonna let it cool all the way. Then you can, of course, cover it like this and stick it in the freezer like this, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna cut it into slices and put it in some Tupperware containers like this. You will need to partially thaw this the night before, like stick it in the fridge the night before, let it go. Then you can reheat it in the oven if you want, or of course you can do the microwave, or my favorite, the air fryer. So we're basically making breakfast biscuit cups. Once the sausage is done cooking, I added 3 tablespoons of just flour that I'm gonna mix in. This is a pretty lean sausage actually. There's not a lot of grease here, so I'm hoping It will cook appropriately, and then we will add some milk to make ourselves basically a sausage gravy. Here comes some milk. We're basically just stirring this through and heat it until it thickens up and makes a sauce. It's like our gravy is about done, so make sure you taste for salt and pepper. If it's bland, add some salt. If it tastes good, let's turn off the heat and set it to the side. In some butter right here, I have about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of the frozen hash browns. They've been thawed, the square ones. This is the potatoes O'Brien with like the peppers and onions. So we're just gonna cook this in the butter with some salt and pepper until they are kind of brown and cooked through, and then we'll add some eggs. We are only cooking these until they're barely set, almost all the way. I basically made some sausage gravy, some potatoes and eggs, and I have some cheese right here. In my greased muffin cups, I'm gonna add these jumbo biscuits. Now, I'm concerned that these are too jumbo. We're just gonna give it a go in these. I may switch to my jumbo muffin tins, but we'll see how that goes. And don't pop your finger. Basically, these biscuits are making a shell for our little cups. So I do have 3 tins, and these have 8 each. So we're just gonna kind of mush it down in there like that. Okay, as I'm watching this, I think I need to switch to the big ones because I haven't even added the sausage or cheese yet. Sausage, look at that, it's like overflowing. Send help. Clearly, if you're gonna use jumbo muffins, you need the jumbo muffin tins to make sure they fit. I'm gonna bake this in the oven for about 20 minutes. Once they've cooled off, this is the smaller one, we can pull these out, and there's 2 ways you can store them in the freezer. Definitely wanna cool them completely, but here, this is what they look like. You can put them in a Tupperware, kind of like this. I realize it's not the Tupperware brand, but I call all storage containers Tupperware. I know it's wrong, I don't care, I'm gonna do it anyway. Anyway, you can do them like this and put some wax paper and then do another level like this, or you can put them in gallon Ziploc bags, that's totally up to you. And if you're gonna do a gallon bag like this, make sure you write on here what it is and how to reheat it. For these, all you're gonna do is microwave them on high for about 1 minute, and they are good to go. You have to go try the breakfast biscuit cups. Huge win. This is legit the easiest meal ever. There are 3 ingredients. I have, not tongs, right there. I have a freezer gallon bag in a pitcher. I have tried those like freezer baggie holder guys, but I find them a little flimsy and tippy. So back to the pitcher it is. So I'm gonna put in about 2.5 pounds of chicken drumsticks. Now, if your family doesn't jive on the drumstick, you could of course use a different cut of meat, but I am here for the dark meat. Dark meat on the bone, thighs, wings, and legs are superior. They cook better, they don't dry out. I mean, you can use like breasts or tenders if you want, but since we are cooking these in the crock pot, the texture is gonna be way different. That's like about half. I'll go a few more. My kids could definitely eat 2 each of these, so we wanna make sure we have enough. Next up is to use the barbecue rub, dry rub of your choice. You can, of course, make your own. I will not be doing that because I have this mix and I just wanna use it up. And it does have salt in it, so I do not need to add extra salt. I'm just gonna go ahead and put the remainder of this in here. A lemon pepper is really good. I've done that before. At this stage, we're going to just give it a shakeroo, like shake and bake chicken. Okay, once that's done, top it with your favorite barbecue sauce. I have 2 open ones in my fridge that I'm trying to like get down. So I have this Sweet Baby Ray's and then this Primal Kitchen Barbecue Classic. And if I didn't have enough, I had this mango jalapeno barbecue sauce as well. Just trying to use these up, and you pour some of these in as well. Maybe I should. A little bit of that. You guys remember those old Heinz ketchup glass bottle commercials? Because ketchup only came in glass bottles. Fun story, I was at a restaurant once and I opened one of those. After shaking it, I was probably 9 and it exploded all over my face and everyone laughed at me. And my biggest fear back then when I was like 8 or 9 was to be laughed at. So it was a horrible experience for me. I would say at least a cup of barbecue sauce, just your favorite one, it doesn't matter which flavor you're using, that is not a cup. Kitchen pro tip Barbecue sauce on anything makes it better. Barbecue sauce is just delicious. Wow, yum. Put some of that in there. Also, when it comes time to cook and you put this in the crock pot, you will want to put a little bit more barbecue, maybe a little bit of water, just to give it something to hang on to. That's it. Lay it flat and freeze it, and we're done. Let's use up the rest of my drumsticks, and we're gonna make some Asian sesame chicken drumsticks marinade. I'm kicking it off with 1/3 cup. I know this is a 2/3, but I have a 1/3 measurement, and I need 1/3 cup of oil and then 1/3 cup of rice vinegar, so I will use the little guide on the side. So I'm starting with 1/3 cup of avocado oil. You can use this or peanut oil. It's more mild than olive oil, so it won't have that tang since we're doing a more Asian flavor. Okay, so 1/3 cup of rice vinegar. Also, so this will take it up to the top, and oh my gosh, I am out of that. Okay, that goes on the shopping list. Just enough. I need 1/4 cup of soy sauce. I'm gonna use these coconut aminos because they have been sitting in my pantry for a while, so I do wanna use these up. How cute is this little measuring spoon cup thing? 1/4 cup of that. And because this is so salty, you won't need to add salt to this. 3 tablespoons of honey, I will eyeball that. And now it's on my hand. 1 teaspoon of sesame oil. This stuff is strong. A little eyeball on that one. And I will also add a little bit of garlic and ginger just because I like those flavors a lot. So that's like a tablespoon of garlic. And I have this squeezy guy of ginger as well. So maybe a teaspoon of that. A little mix to get it all together, and this goes into our Ziploc bag of drumsticks. I have about 2 to 2.5 pounds of drumsticks for this. Oh no, I lost him. Here are my chicken drumsticks, labeled like always, and in goes my marinade. And I like to use a spatula to make sure you get every last bit of that deliciousness in there. Can you believe how easy that was? You can cook this however you want. You can grill it, you can slow cook it, like crock pot it, instant pot, bake it, whatever you want. My favorite ways are the crock pot and the grill. For this cilantro lime marinade, we will start with 1/2 cup of olive oil or avocado oil, whichever you prefer. And then go into the zest and juice of 2 limes. Crushed red pepper flakes to your preference. I like it, so I'm gonna go like 1/2 teaspoon. And this is my hack. Because I don't wanna chop cilantro, I'm gonna use this paste stuff. And you need a good amount of it, so this probably half this tube, I would imagine. Yeah, look at that, I don't have to chop anything. Garlic paste also, don't have to chop any of that. The equivalent of 2 garlic cloves. That's probably 5, but it's fine. We love garlic here. Some ground cumin, about a teaspoon. I have about a teaspoon in my hand, and everyone thinks I overestimate. So to prove you wrong, this is a teaspoon right here. 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon. I've been cooking for 20 years, so I've gotten really good at estimating. We do need some salt in here, about a teaspoon of that, and since this is a grinder, I'm just gonna guess. What time is it? Yes, time to whisk it real good. Whisk it real good. All right, that is our cilantro lime sauce, marinade, whatever. I have about 2 pounds of chicken tenders in here. You could also use boneless, skinless chicken breast. You can use whatever you want. Okay, that goes right in. Can you believe how quickly I am ripping through these? Hardest part is making sure you have all the ingredients. Thaw and grill and use however you like. In a burrito, in a taco bowl, with your fingers, whatever. This next one is one of my absolute favorite chicken marinades. I stumbled across / tweaked this one way back when I was like 26 or 27 or something like that. So in my mixing bowl, I'm making up, oh, you can't see that. My marinade, I have the juice of 4 lemons with the zest, and I'm supposed to add 1 cup of mustard. And I ran out and I looked in my food storage. This is the only mustard I have left, this like sweet hot mustard. So we're just gonna go with it. 1 full cup of mustard. It's one of the main flavors of our marinade. So obviously if you don't like mustard, you probably wouldn't, you wouldn't like this dish. Okay, our 1 cup of mustard is going into my mixing bowl as well. About a teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. So that's about that many. It's a good amount, so if you don't like spice, maybe pull back a little bit. But this is gonna go over basically this entire package of chicken thighs. Now I love to do this with chicken thighs on the bone, but I just figured these would cook a little bit faster, so I went with the boneless, skinless chicken thighs today. And 2 tablespoons of chopped rosemary. I have this dried crushed, but the recipe is for fresh. So I'm gonna cut it back to like half of that. So 1 tablespoon goes right in there. I'm gonna add about 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil to this just to loosen it up a hair. We're gonna give it a wang jangle. So before I put all of this together, I will put some salt on the chicken because there's not really much in the marinade. So just giving this a quick little grind. I'm trying to use up the rest of this grinder here. So let's put as much of this in here as we can. I'd like to do all of it, but I might not get to all of it. Most of it. I like these bags, these Great Value ones. They're cut differently on the bottom, so they stand up really nicely on the counter. Nice design change. Okay, my marinade is going in. I made this chicken for a party once a long time ago with my friends. They still talk about it. They were like, what was that mustard rosemary chicken you made that was so delicious? This is it. Okay, I think I can add all of it. Sweet. Obviously, because this is like it's like 4 pounds of chicken thighs. This will feed a crowd, and it's really easy to like double, triple, cut in half, whatever, to fit your family size. So getting all the air out of this, and you're done. Just like the other one, this is a grill when you're finished. Serve it with whatever sides you want. Your family will love you. For our Southwest chicken tender marinade, I have 1/3 cup of vinegar. You can use apple cider or white vinegar, and 1/3 cup of olive oil or avocado oil, your call. Coming up next, we have some more cilantro, and I'm just gonna squeeze like a tablespoon. These little tubes make marinade making so quick. 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, which is excellent because I am really getting close to finishing this. 1 teaspoon of oregano. I'm gonna go maybe a half because Dave doesn't love this flavor to be overpowering, so I'm gonna go half a teaspoon. Of course, you can always go with your family's preferences as well when it comes to flavors that you like or don't like. 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of salt, a half to 1 teaspoon of black pepper. And this is my little baby whisk trying to mix this together. Look at that color, isn't that amazing? This will go on about 2 pounds of chicken tenders. You could use chicken breast if you wanted, or a thigh. So make sure you write on your bag what it is, even though you think you're gonna remember, you won't. You could, of course, mix the marinade just in the bag. You don't have to put it in a bowl like I am, but it's a lot harder to film with the camera, putting it in the bag so you can see it well, so that's why I'm doing it in a separate bowl, but you could just do it all in one container like this and then really have no dirty dishes at all. Okay, Southwest vinaigrette marinade going in. Make sure everything is coated, pop that in the freezer. And cooking options here, you could grill this or you can bake this in the oven. I personally would put this on a salad, topped with like avocado and cheese and tortilla chips. That would be just amazing. This zesty Italian chicken starts with an entire bottle of zesty Italian dressing. I tried to find a different brand, but Kraft was the only one that said Zesty on the front, so I figured this was the one we had to use. The entire bottle. Wow. Next up is 1 packet of ranch dressing. Whole thing goes right in, and because of the dressing and the ranch, we do not need to add salt to this, but I will throw in about a teaspoon of garlic powder, 2 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. The cheap, shaky stuff is fine. I'm eyeballing a little. That might have been 3 or 4. It's all good. When you make marinade, sometimes you measure with your heart. Give it a whisk. Yeah. Don't worry, the chunks are the Parmesan cheese. It'll be fine. Set that to the side and let's get our chicken in our Ziploc bag. I have my pitcher holder with my bag. It is labeled with zesty Italian chicken right on it. And you can put in 4 to 6 full chicken breasts. I have tenders here, so let's just do about 2 pounds, which is almost this entire package, but not quite. And when it comes time to cook this, you will just thaw it from your freezer and grill it. Our marinade goes right in, just like that. Try not to make a mess like I'm doing. Oh, I think I did not spill it on the outside. Okay, good. That's it. That is it. Lay it flat to freeze and another one down. My lemon garlic chicken starts with a half a cup of olive oil and the juice and zest of 2 lemons, which is about a 1/4 cup or so. Up next, I have 4 cloves of garlic. Again, going in with my squeezy garlic, and I'm really just eyeballing that. Now, instead of rosemary like the other dish, we will use this thyme. And I keep this in the freezer so it lasts forever. I'm just gonna dump that whole thing in there and let it sit marinating in the whole thing. And then when it comes time to grill or cook your chicken however you want, you can pull the sticks out and the leaves will have fallen off at that point. Makes it way easier. 1 teaspoon of salt is going in. Another big teaspoon of black pepper. You could do half a teaspoon if you don't jive on quite that much pepper. And that is literally it. This one is so, well, listen, all of these are easy. I'm just gonna mush the thyme in there a little bit. And then once I get this in the bag with the chicken, I will massage it in a little bit, try and get these leaves to fall off. These are chicken breasts that I cut smaller so they kind of look like tenders, but they're not. I just want them to cook a little faster. See if I can do this without making a mess. Oh yeah. And just a little massage so I can get that thyme kind of all over the chicken. And that's it. 7 chicken freezer meal marinades in like less than an hour. Now I have not 1, not 2, but 3 cottage cheese containers. What the heck is the matter with me? Why do I... This one's sealed. Like, okay, I don't want to like spray it in my face. Okay, that one looks good. I just need to check before we get started. There's no reason anyone should have 3 cottage cheese containers when like none of my kids eat cottage cheese. Yep, good, okay. Please tell me this one's not sealed too. I am such a dummy. They're all sealed, oh my gosh. I'm going to make 3 lasagnas today out of these because I use like 1 container per lasagna, and I hate making lasagna because it's like all the layers and
we both have layers.
Feels like it takes forever, and I make my own sauce. I've never used a jarred sauce for lasagna. I just like mine, and the sauce takes like an hour to simmer. Ugh, it's a whole thing.
But I don't want to.
Plus, there's the issue that I just don't like lasagna that much, but my kids adore it, and so if I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna make 3 and stick them in the freezer, and that's what we're doing. So I have 3 of those. I do have 3 pounds of ground beef that I pulled out of my freezer to thaw, and I always have like open boxes of lasagna noodles in my pantry. Why? I can never use the whole box at one time. What is the matter with me? I even have like, why do I have frozen petite diced tomatoes in my freezer? I couldn't tell you, but here they are. Also in the fridge, look at all these onions.
Ogres are like onions.
They're just begging to go into a sauce. I am going to start mixing up my sauce right now. I'm gonna get going on the sauce, mix up the cottage cheese, or like ricotta, you can use ricotta, but I actually prefer cottage cheese to ricotta. I don't know why. Like, it's saltier, maybe I like the saltier, who's to say? So we're gonna get started on these lasagnas and see what we can do. I have 2 pots going with 1.5 pounds of the ground beef each, some onion, garlic, crushed red pepper flake, and Italian seasoning. So as soon as the ground beef is finished, we'll add our tomatoes. Frozen tomatoes that were in the freezer, plus the petite diced tomatoes. So we're gonna add both of these into our pots. I actually have 2 of these. So 1 in this pot, 1 in the other pot. And I get to clear out my freezer, so that's great. I know it's a little frozen, but it'll be fine. There's the petite diced tomatoes, look at that. They'll thaw, it'll be fine. Welcome to the lasagna making station. We have our sauce finished. My cottage cheese mixture is all mixed up. There it is. I also had this in my outside fridge. Definitely need to use that up. Here's all my sauce. I have some Scooby guys. I know you guys are gonna ask where these are from. Pier 1, these are really, really old, like probably 10 years old. All of my lasagna noodles. 2 of these are gonna be freezer meals, and 1 I'm just gonna stick in the fridge and we're gonna eat it tomorrow because I already have dinner for tonight planned. A cup of sauce on the bottom of each one. Now the real trick is making sure I have enough sauce for all 3 and that I don't run out. That's gonna be the real issue. Now while I make this, I'm gonna listen to some music and I'll speed it up for you, and like we can talk about some other stuff during the voiceover. How does that sound? Sound good? Yes? Great. Alexa, shuffle songs by Newfound Glory. I like telling the Echo to do something like that right before I cut out the sound because I just want to see like how many other Echoes I can make turn on when people watch my videos. I think it's really, really funny. So if your Alexa turned on just then and played New Found Glory, give this video a like and then tell me in the comments which song it started playing. I gotta get some more things out of this fridge and let me kind of show you what I'm finding in here. Pepper jack cheese, these huge burrito sized tortillas that I picked up for our mountain bike trip. I didn't even take all of them with us, this huge pack from Sam's Club. So now I have this like massive pack that's sitting in here. And I'm trying to get rid of some of these condiments over here. I have like almost no salsa left there, so we're gonna put that here. Even have, oh, yep, this little container of jalapenos. Grab those, okay. I have about 10 of these in my freezer. Let's take these 2 and the rest of these eggs. I think I have some more in my outside fridge as well. I think we're gonna make breakfast burritos and like freeze a bunch and it's gonna be amazing. So let's get started. You guys can't watch when you're in there, come on. There's not much more I like better than a hunky man chopping up a hunk of sausage. You should see my like totally dirty stove. I've been cooking all day, like what?
Yeah, the whole thing is greasy.
I'll clean it. When this is done, I'll clean it. My sausage and eggs are ready. We will now add the jalapenos. Oh, for those that think I'm serious, it's totally a joke. I know that's not how you say it. You say jalapeno, that's what you say. Okay, also a joke. The rest of this salsa, just because I want to get it out of my fridge because there's like nothing left in there. Cool down just a touch before I add the cheese. I don't want the cheese to melt into a big gobbledygook of melted cheese ball. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up my breakfast burritos. Even though I didn't mix in my cheese, we'll just sprinkle it on top each time. Fingers crossed I can wrap these appropriately because I suck at wrapping breakfast burritos. Everybody say a little prayer for me. It'll be really, really helpful. I don't know how much to put in. My biggest issue is I usually overfill them. I'm like, ooh, look at all this yummy goodness. It probably needs more. Look, I'm doing it now. Look, is this too much? I don't even know. Couldn't say. A little bit of cheese. Okay, so we're gonna do, okay, is it this one and then, or is it this one and then this one? Which way is it? Is it this way? Sure. Like that? Oh my gosh, I didn't suck. Oh, whoa. Yes, what is happening now? Oh my gosh, I'm an expert. Okay, let's mix up the rest of these. True story, after I made these breakfast burritos and they were like the biggest hit ever in my family, I still had some of these large tortillas, so I did some leftover rice and black bean sour cream and cheese burritos as well and wrapped them up just like this. And then my family was like, oh my gosh, bean and cheese burritos with rice. These are the best things ever. And this is how genius Dave is. He reheated his in the air fryer, not the microwave, and it gives it like a little crispy exterior. I'm telling you, try it. You'll never go back to the microwave. So I ended up with 13 breakfast burritos. They're very big. I could only fit 5 in a Ziploc bag. So these 2 can go in the freezer, and these 3 can go in the fridge for someone's breakfast tomorrow. Now, in my family, this will be gone in one day. And this will be gone in one day. So this will only like 2 days of breakfast burritos, which is very sad when you think about how much food that is. But hey, that's where we are. BBQ chicken marinade with corn on the cob. This came together so fast. It was just the boneless, skinless chicken breast, garlic powder, brown sugar, paprika, vegetable oil, red wine vinegar, and the corn on the cob as the side. So obviously you can serve this with a salad or something like that, which is fantastic. So when it came to cooking day, I decided to bake them on a cookie sheet in the oven just because I was feeling lazy, but you could also do the Instant Pot or grill them outside. And I threw my ears of corn in my air fryer. I'll leave a link to that down below. A couple more things. We had some cut up veggies, some fruit, and I did have a couple of biscuits that I made as well. Truthfully, I did serve barbecue sauce on the side for my kids to dip their chicken into, but it was a winner overall. The next meal is going to be a taco casserole. Browning this meat was basically the only cooking I really needed to do. It was 2 pounds of lean ground beef, tortillas, but in the ground beef, I added taco seasoning, a jar of salsa, and beans just for a little, I added the beans to make it a little cheaper to make, and a little bit of water. I let it simmer for a while until everything came together and then ended up pouring it into my foil dinner pans. And so you layer the bottom with tortillas. You can use corn or flour. I just had flour ones, so that's what I used. And spread it all around and top it with cheese and pop it in the freezer. It's that easy. And then on baking day, what you're gonna do is you're gonna thaw it overnight in the refrigerator and cook it in the oven for about an hour or so. This meal was a huge hit. Dave kept asking me over and over again where I got the recipe, if I had ever made it before, because sometimes I do that. I'll make something and then not make it for 5 years. The kids loved it. We served it alongside a salad, almost like a taco salad kind of a thing with some sour cream, and they are all wanting me to make that one again. Pesto marinade with chicken and dinner rolls. So I basically just put the chicken breast into these freezer bags. I did butterfly the chicken breast and added this fresh pesto. So if I were to do this one again, I would not get the fresh pesto. I would get the cooked shelf stable pesto because it's already been cooked and I feel like the flavor is a little more pronounced. I noticed when I cooked this that I wish it had had more sauce. And so that's something that I learned for myself that you'll typically learn when you go into doing your own recipes. You're like, you know what, if it could use a little more sauce or like a little less this or a little more this. Just mush it all around. And then I added these to another Ziploc baggie that had the dinner rolls into it. And then on cooking day, what you're gonna do is you're gonna thaw the chicken overnight, not the rolls. Do not thaw the rolls. And there's a couple different ways that you can cook this. You can put all of the chicken and sauce into a crock pot, which is what I did, and cook it on low for 4 hours. You could also put it in the Instant Pot with a cup of chicken broth or something and let it go at high pressure for 10 minutes and then do just a 10-minute natural release. And you can also bake it in the oven or grill it. I think doing it in the crock pot or the Instant Pot is definitely the way to go so you can kind of get a sauce. And then what I did is I cooked up some orzo pasta and had some Parmesan cheese as well and served it alongside that, almost like a pasta dish with some peas on the side. And then I had a nice big green salad. So for my dinner, it was the green salad with the chicken only. I didn't do the pasta. So that's one trick for you. If you want to, maybe your kids want to eat pasta, but you don't, you could make it for everybody. Just don't serve it to yourself. Turkey black bean chili, although I didn't have ground turkey and I don't particularly enjoy ground turkey as much as ground beef. So I just use ground beef. Feel free to sub out things in your recipes as well. But I basically have the ground beef for myself, tomato sauce, black beans, petite diced tomatoes, frozen corn. I used garlic powder in this, paprika, chili powder, cumin, oregano, and crushed red pepper flakes, which is one of my favorite things. I love crushed red pepper flakes. And I have never frozen a chili like this without cooking the meat. The meat is raw in here. Putting this together was incredibly fast, and then you just freeze it. And on cooking day, so you're gonna pull it out the night before and just let it thaw overnight in the refrigerator, or you can put it in a large bowl and let it thaw in some warm water. What I did is I put everything that was in the freezer bag into my crock pot and I just let it cook on low for about 6 to 8 hours in my crock pot. Of course, you can do this in the Instant Pot as well for maybe 30 to 45 minutes, and the meat cooks while it's in there, and then you can mush it all up. I used a potato masher actually to mush up my beef after it was done cooking all the way, and then you serve it however you normally eat chili. I don't know why I don't make stuff like this more often. So I browned some Italian sausage. I prefer the spicy Italian sausage, but you can choose whichever one you like. And in your foil pans, you're gonna put a bunch of ravioli, pick whatever brand or flavor you like. I just got these from Sam's Club. Top it with the browned sausage. Top it with pasta sauce, so make sure you pick one that you like, right? Don't pick Hunt's if you're not a fan of that one, and don't pick Prego if you don't like that one. So you just top each foil thing with one can of sauce, make sure you get it all out of there, and top that with whatever your favorite Italian cheeses are. I did a mix of mozzarella and fresh Parmesan that I had grated myself, but you can do whatever you want. If you just like Parmesan, that's cool. If you want to use the Kraft grated Parmesan in the shaky cheese, if you know what I'm saying, like that's good too. Use whatever you like that you know your family's gonna like. And then once you're done with that, you put the foil on top and stick it in the freezer. So fast to put together. And on cooking day, you can cook it totally frozen. So you're gonna bake it covered at 425 degrees for an hour, uncover it and go another 10 to 15 minutes to kind of brown the cheese and make sure it is bubbly. You can serve it with a salad or whatever side dish you like. I'm gonna start boiling some pasta water. I've already browned my spicy Italian sausage. It's in this very large pan back here. So all I need to do now is chop my onion and my pepper and saute those in there. Add some spaghetti sauce of your choosing, pick whichever kind you want. and cook my pasta. And then I'm gonna pour them into my foil pan and boom, we're done. Pasta is cooking for my pseudo ziti, I guess, because it's not really ziti. So I thought I would move to my next item, which is crock-pot white chicken chili. And I'm gonna put everything in here raw. I'm not gonna cook it, and it's just gonna go straight into the freezer. So when it's time to eat, all you do is thaw it overnight, throw it in the crock pot, low for 8 hours, boom, done. I have some chicken breasts right here that I've been thawing for a couple of hours. I'm going to put one chicken breast in each of these because they're very, very large. And I'm not even going to chop them because once they cook in the crock pot, they're just gonna shred. About 1 pound of chicken per bag each of these. I think is gonna serve like 6 to 8 people, depending on how much you eat. Next in goes 2 cans of cannellini beans each. I have this one. You are gonna want to drain and rinse these first and then put them in. This is 2 cans going into this one. There's the other one. Don't worry about making a mess. We're cooking in the kitchen, and that's what you do when you cook, is you kind of make a mess because you gotta let everybody know, like, hey, I'm cooking in here. We'll clean it up later, it's fine. If it looks like I'm crying, it's because I am. Because I chopped some onions. Woo! I have basically the equivalent of 1 onion going into each one. I just put it all into this bowl because it's easy to do a video like that. 2 cloves of garlic per bag. Okay, there we go. You can add more if you like garlic, and I like garlic, so you could probably add more. The equivalent of 1 can of pinto beans. These aren't canned, these are dried that I cooked myself. I like to cook them in batches and then just freeze them for when I need them later. So 1 can of beans is like 1 cup to 1.5 cups-ish. And because I'm not gonna be able to put all of my chicken broth in here, you want the equivalent of 4 cups. So I'm gonna use this chicken bouillon cubes that I got from, I did another video. So each cube is the equivalent of 2 cups. So all you need to do is write on the bag, add 4 cups of water, right? And it should be fine. So two cubes or whatever you need for 4 cups, okay? And then once you add the water and put it in the crock pot, these will dissolve. So don't worry about there being, you know, big chunks of bouillon, because I find these dissolve actually fairly easily. Way better than the dried ones. These are squishier. The huge ones that you get in the big cans from Sam's Club or whatever, I feel like those take forever to dissolve. 1 16-ounce jar of green salsa to each, and I didn't do that, so I'm gonna have a little less than I need. Oh my gosh, what the heck? There we go. So I'm actually just a hair under this because this is gonna end up being 12 ounces each instead of 16. So I'm almost there, just not quite. So we're gonna go half in each one. And then save that jar because you can store things in your pantry in it. Lastly, cumin, oregano, and black pepper. I'm just gonna use this big Alpine Touch because I have it, and cayenne pepper if you're feeling like really, you know, saucy. About a teaspoon each. I don't measure spices very well. I just kind of dump it in until it looks right. 1 tablespoon of cumin each. That's actually a fairly large amount. And woo, maybe that might be a little more. Now here's the tricky part. Oh, there we go. Getting it out of that. That is the freezer meal. Just write on the bag, add 4 cups of water in the crock pot, let it cook, and you're golden. Easy peasy. I mean, you can make way more of these and then give them to your neighbors. People always need a meal. It is kind of nice to have backups of stuff like this. 2 down, so fast put together. Time for our pasta. So as you can see, I've already added a little bit of sauce to this one. Here is my penne. Okay, so half of your sauce goes in one and half in the other. So we're just gonna stir them around right in here. I got this pan from Sam's Club, by the way. It's like, ow, I just pinched something in my back. Ah. Okay, I might need a heating pad later today. You're just gonna stir all of your sauce into your noodles, whatever noodle shape you prefer. This one has rigatoni. This one is mini penne because I didn't have any ziti, and I had these and I just wanted to use them because why would I buy extra if I already had some? I think I might like the mini penne. They're just so cute. It's so adorable. I'm like really digging it actually. And once you have all of that stirred around, we'll top it with mozzarella cheese. And bada boom, bada bang. This would be so easy to make 5 of these. I feel like most of these, it would be very easy to make 5 of these, and then you can have extras, you can have freezer meals for when you go on vacation and your in-laws come and watch your kids. I'm only saying that because I wish that was happening. That's not actually happening. Do as much cheese as you want. You could use Parmesan. And then when it comes time to bake these and serve them, I mean, make a salad, do some green beans, roasted broccoli, whatever it is you like to have on the side of your pasta. But let me move these out of the way and we'll get started on our next dish. Next up is another crock pot meal, and this one's going to be Latin chicken. To each bag, I will add two chicken breasts, okay? So it's gonna be a good amount of chicken. These are very, very large, almost a pound each. We're looking at about 2 pounds of chicken. Notice I'm not chopping this or anything like that because when it comes time to actually cook it, it will then become shreddable. You want 2 red bell peppers in each one, and I didn't have that many, so I used some red bell peppers for my garden, some green bell peppers for my garden, and I'm just gonna try and divvy it up kind of evenly. So I'm just kind of using some garden produce in addition to some grocery store goods because I didn't have enough of either one to do all of these recipes. There we go. We need about 1/2 cup of chicken broth per container, so I'm gonna use the same trick and use this little bouillon cube, but I'm gonna break it in half. There we go. Just right on your thing to add like 1/2 cup of water when you put it in the crock pot. Couple of spices, garlic powder, onion powder, or minced onion. I'm just gonna use this minced onion because it's been sitting in my pantry for a while. I can't even remember who gave this to me, maybe my mom. Really at this point, just trying to get rid of it, honestly. I didn't even check my measurements on these. Okay, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder each. That looks close-ish. Some cumin again, 2 teaspoons each. That looks okay to me. I love cumin, so a little too much is probably okay. I think it has oregano as well. I lied, it does not have oregano, it has salt and pepper. And this is the one where I actually measure. So each one is going to get 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. And I'm gonna add some black beans. The equivalent of 1 can of black beans each, but I cooked mine myself in the Instant Pot and they're very hot. So I've been letting them sit over here for a while because I didn't want to melt the bag. You guys see how hot those are? Now these have 0 salt at all because I just cooked them from dried and didn't do anything else to them. Because a canned black bean would have more salt in it, there's a potential that this might need more salt when it comes to cooking day. You are supposed to add about 1.5 cups of diced sweet potatoes into these. But basically no one in my family likes sweet potatoes except for me and Ryan. Everybody else is just kind of like, I could pass. I am going to leave the sweet potatoes out. So when it comes to serving day, I can serve it on top of a baked sweet potato for those that would like it, or serve it with rice, which is what I'm actually going to do with most of it. In this case, the recipe called for sweet potatoes. I'm not doing it just because I know my family's not gonna love that. Look, it's all, see how condensation-y this is? For this next recipe, I have to use lentils, which I don't particularly enjoy anyway. And then the bag decided to split and attack me and go all over the counter. They are all over the floor. I'm stepping on them. Look, they're all over the floor. Is this a sign that I do not use the lentils? What do you think? Pass on the lentils? I mean, it's like a sign, right? Our next freezer meal is going to be a double batch of Budget Bites', hopefully I did the S right on that. Sloppy Joe Plus, and the plus is for the lentils. We are stretching the ground beef with lentils. But what I have right here is a very large bowl of 2 onions, all of the bell peppers I showed you. We're gonna go get them sauteing in our pan. Let's go over there. In my 14-inch skillet here, I have some bacon fat that I store in the fridge. So I'm gonna let that melt and dump in all of my veggies. Over here, I have my beef. This is some hamburger that came from my brother's cow, and I believe this is ground elk. In my pot of boiling water, here come my lentils, woo! And I'm using my Happy Face spoon in hopes that it'll make it taste good. Just gonna simmer these for about 20 minutes or so. Over here, I added my garlic. I am just sauteing this until these are a little softer than this. Then we will add our meat. Okay, ground beef and elk are in. Just gonna brown these until they are cooked through, and then we'll add all the flavorings. And I would use my meat masher, but it's in the dishwasher right now, which is going. We're gonna use this inferior meat masher spatula. Now that my meat is cooked all the way, I have 2 cans of tomato sauce. And I thought I had some tomato paste, and I don't. So I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. Maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna rinse out these cans with some water and dump that in here as well. Let's add some mustard. I was gonna add Dijon, but I don't have that either. This is like substitute central. Maybe 2 tablespoons of that. Brown sugar, 6 tablespoons, 2 teaspoons or 1 teaspoon, I can't remember, of chili powder and 1 teaspoon of salt. About 6 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. I will bring that to a simmer, and then I'm going to taste it and see if I like really need the tomato paste or not. I don't know how that's gonna go, but when you're cooking, you need to taste stuff and then add something if it doesn't taste right to you. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Hey, ignore that. That's what happens when you cook all day. I'm sitting in front of my sloppy joes. They've been simmering for about 20 minutes. I am about to add my lentils, and I'm very nervous that I'm going to ruin them. Someone's knocking on the door. Hang on. That's a way I can make lentils. I would definitely not leave out the brown sugar or vinegar. I think that's what made it. Yeah, that's actually really good. Pork teriyaki meatball rice bowls. So in this bowl, I have 1.5 pounds of pork, 1/2 pound of beef, just because I didn't have enough pork, a bunch of green onions chopped up, some fresh ginger, garlic, breadcrumbs, soy sauce, 2 eggs, a little bit of pepper, and I think that's all. I'm gonna mush all of this together, and this will be my meatball mixture. Okay, these are gonna be fairly small meatballs, so I have this spring-loaded server like that. So they should be approximately a tablespoon or so. So I'm just gonna give these a quick little rolly roll. And this is gonna go in the oven for 30 minutes to cook all the way through. So while that cooks, just cook up your favorite rice. I love jasmine rice or basmati rice, but a typical cheap short grain or long grain rice is also fine. You could do brown rice, you could do cauliflower rice, you can do whatever you want because it's your house and you can do whatever you want. After both of those get going, we'll come back and make our sauce. My rice is going over here in my Instant Pot, and I am making up my glaze right now. I am gonna mix it all in this bowl, but I will end up simmering it just a little bit on the stove because there's cornstarch in it and I want it to thicken just a little bit. So I have 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and I'm gonna add to it 1/2 cup of soy sauce. You could also use your coconut aminos if that's your thing. 1/2 cup of water as well. I do not have sesame seeds, but I do have this rice wine vinegar in this little packet. I'm sure it was from a meal box kit that I didn't use, so throw that in. And a little bit of sesame oil. Not very much, this stuff is super strong. 1/2 teaspoon or so, like that. I have a little bit of ground ginger. Fresh ginger would be better, but I'm feeling lazy right now, so I don't want to. And some cornstarch, 2 tablespoons, like that. And we'll give it a little whiskey business. I were to put this directly into the freezer, I'd probably leave it just like this. But I do want to show you like the finished product and what it looks like, so I'll give this a little simmer on the stovetop. And then I will meet you back here with the completed dish. Here are the teriyaki teriyaki glazed meatball rice containers. Hard to tell size on camera, but this is over a cup of rice and 6 meatballs and over a cup of green beans. So it's actually a good amount of food. I drizzled the glaze on top. So all you need to do is put the lid on these, snap the lids on these, and pop these in the freezer, and they are good to go for work and school lunches. Or I guess you could make like a big pan of it and just have the big pan, reheat it in the oven if you want to do it that way. Or you could just cook the meatballs and just freeze the meatballs and then cook everything fresh the night of. On some foil, step 1 is to just take this out of the package. And be careful which one you buy, because I noticed the Walmart brand was only 12 ounces in weight, and this brand is 16 ounces in weight. So the other ones were much smaller. And I thought the rolls were quite a bit smaller too. So the serving size for this is 2 sandwiches per person, and there is gonna be a side dish as well. But just keep that in mind when you are purchasing your rolls. Now don't break these apart, just set them down just like that. Now the fun part, get a bread slicer or something like that, and we're gonna slice these all connected together. I don't know why I find this so amusing, but I do. It's like bulk making sandwiches, which is right up my alley because sandwiches are life. I mean, if you think sandwiches are life, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Now that our bread is cut up, it's time to make our butter mixture. So I have one stick, a half a cup of melted butter in this bowl, to which I will add 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. And I'm gonna eyeball that because it's just easier that way. About like that. 2 teaspoons of poppy seeds, which is about that much. 3 tablespoons of some kind of mustard. You can use Dijon. This is a spicy brown, which is what I like. Oh my gosh, I can't open the mustard. Oh. To give it some whiskey business, or you can wang jangle it together, whatever you prefer. Half of this mixture goes onto half of the bread, and then the other half of the mixture is going to go on top once the sandwiches are done. Yeah, it makes it kind of messy, but super delicious. I'll go and do the other one. Next up is some ham slices, are some ham slices, and then some cheese slices. And traditionally you would use a Swiss cheese, but I'm really picky and I don't like Swiss cheese, so we're gonna do Colby Jack instead, but it's truly up to you. If you like a stinky cheese like Swiss, go ahead and do that. So I'll just kind of layer these all over. Can you have too many? I mean, cheese is life, my friends. And I got this beautiful ham sliced fresh at the deli. It looks so delicious. So I'm gonna put this one all over this other one, maybe 6 slices over here. And then, look at that. Well, I mean, I did it a little messy because, you know, I'm a little messy like that. I just made 12 sandwiches. This is where you add a little bit of the remainder on top, like this. By the way, you could make this fresh in bulk for serving a crowd. This would be an awesome, like, Super Bowl. Like, I know the Super Bowl's over, but if you do that kind of thing, it would feed a lot of people and it's a crowd pleaser. Wrap it up in the foil, and that's it. And if you want to double wrap it with another piece on top just to make sure it's more sealed, that's totally up to you. When it comes time to cook, you're just gonna thaw it and stick it in the oven, still wrapped in foil. Look how beautiful these are. They were so delicious. And we went ahead and served ours with a salad and some fruit on the side, but of course you can do whatever side you want to. Into our 2 freezer meal pans, we're going to separate out some cooked pasta of your choice. The instructions actually say to use rotini, but I do what I want. Half the pasta over here, half the pasta over here. Now it's time to add shredded chicken. You can do a rotisserie chicken just to make life super easy, but I cooked 3 pounds of chicken breast in my Instant Pot and shredded it there, so let's add that now. To make sure you're more even than what I'm doing, you could absolutely mix this all in one bowl and then divvy it out. I just didn't want to wash another bowl. Hashtag efficient. Next we have some bacon bits. You can do this fresh, you can use pre-made bacon. I had just happened to cook up some bacon a couple of days ago that was in my fridge, so I crumpled it all up, half and half here. And there's one, there's the other. Half a bottle of ranch dressing in each one, and I got the ranch from the Valley. Jen, that's for you. Last step is to add some shredded Italian style cheese, half on each. You can mix it in, oh man, that didn't, dang it. You can mix it in with the pasta, but I just wanted to sprinkle it on top. Go ahead and pop these on top and stick them in the freezer, and you are done. After you bake this in the oven, go ahead and serve it alongside your family's favorite veggie. Ours likes broccoli a lot, so that's what we did. Up next, we have the battle of the pitcher and the bag holder. You can pick up these off of Amazon. I'll link it down below for you. I wanna see which one performs better because you guys are highly concerned about me using pitchers. So we're just gonna see. Let's make a steak chili, and I'm gonna start with stew meat, like beef. It's a beef roast that's been chunked up into cubes like that. So 1.5 pounds into each bag. Ugh, okay, first impressions is it's more wobbly than my pitcher. So score 1 point for the pitcher. 1/2 of an onion per bag. 1 drained can of pinto beans per bag. Yeah, of course, you probably use whatever beans you want. You don't like pinto beans, use a different bean. 1 cup of beef what? Beef broth. I'm just going to use water and this powder stuff. This is perfectly acceptable. I actually don't use beef broth very often. Tell me down below, how often do you use beef broth and stuff? Chicken is kind of my go-to. 1 tablespoon of chili powder. Yes, I'm going to eyeball it. In fact, I think you could probably go overboard on the chili powder. I love chili powder, I think it's delicious. More is better. 2 teaspoons of ground cumin. And that's like the end of my cumin, so I should probably put that on the shopping list. Next is some garlic salt, which is not something I typically buy, so we're gonna make up our own with garlic and salt. 2 teaspoons of it, if that's what you have. I think I'm gonna do like 1 teaspoon and 1 teaspoon. Some crushed red pepper flakes to your preference. A little bit of oregano. Some fresh pepper.
Grazie.
Do not be afraid of the pepper. Last, we're gonna add 28 ounces of some kind of tomato, petite diced, crushed, and I ended up getting some out of my freezer, some pureed tomatoes right here, 28 ounces into each one. Please don't spill on the counter, Christine. This just pulled off of my thing. That's not fun. All right, let's compare the holder. This is teetery and apparently will pull out. That being said, it does hold it open nicer, as the pitcher is very sturdy and it won't pull out of anything. I can't fill it as full as I can with this unless I roll the top and, you know, give it a little shimmy shake thing. So these are done, and these are a crock pot meal. You know, throw it in the crock pot for 8 hours and then serve it however you like to eat chili, with chips, with cheese, over rice, over spaghetti, whatever. To cook the chili, you thaw your package in the refrigerator overnight, stick it in your crock pot low for 8 hours or high for 4 hours. Can I just say, this chili recipe from my husband's mouth, the best chili I have ever made, even better than the one I make all the time. Wow, you need to make this. We are going to do Asian chicken and rice. Each bag carries 1 full pound of boneless, skinless chicken breast. I did not do anything to it. I didn't cut it, I didn't cook it, and we're going to add a sauce to this, and that's about it. So the sauce concoction is a mixture of soy sauce, sugar, red wine vinegar, oil, garlic, and ginger. So I'm going to do my best to put half in one bag and half in the other bag. That is all you need to do on prep day. That's it. So just stick that in your freezer, and when it comes time to cook it, you can bake it in the oven, you can cook it in the Instant Pot, you can do the slow cooker if you have a small slow cooker. Then you're gonna cook some fresh rice and serve a bag of frozen veggies on the side. It's that easy. Finished dish, I shredded the chicken and put it on some jasmine rice and sauteed veggies on the side. Teriyaki burgers, I have 2 pounds of ground beef of whatever your choice is. I also have here 1/4 cup of the previous cooking sauce from the Asian chicken. There goes all my sauce. And form these into the correct number of patties that you need for the amount of buns that you have. So I have 8 buns, so we're hoping to make 8 patties here. I like to stick these in the freezer for 15 or 20 minutes just to make them a little solid. Pop them in a Ziploc bag. Make sure you have a package of rolls and a package of tater tots to go with this meal. If you love burgers as much as we do, smash that thumbs up button to let us know. This dish is a chicken Alfredo with a taco twist. So while my pasta is cooking, we'll mix up the sauce in our pan right here. The first thing we're gonna do is pour in 2 jars of your favorite Alfredo sauce. I'm not a huge fan of jarred Alfredo, but the Classico, I like okay. I always think homemade is better, but on busy nights, sometimes speed is of the essence. Next up is 3/4 cup to 1 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. I'm just using the cheap, like Kraft shaky cheese. You could use nicer cheese if you want. I will pour in just a splash of milk to loosen it up a hair, because I am adding pasta and I want the pasta to kind of soak this up a bit. 1 cup of your favorite salsa and about a tablespoon of your favorite taco seasoning. I will eyeball this, but it's about a tablespoon. Give this a stir until it's all combined. Make sure you dump it on the counter. That's essential. My pasta's almost done, but before I pour that in, I have about 3 cups of cooked chicken. You could use a rotisserie chicken. That would be Very easy. The chicken Alfredo pasta freezer meal ended up being the perfect thing to take to my neighbor. Sometimes when I make a bunch of freezer meals and stuff, it's a good opportunity to make some extra and hand it out to your neighbors so they can have an easy dinner or they can have a freezer meal for whenever they have a tight schedule, they can't make dinner that day or whatever's going on. So I gave that meal to my neighbor who was super excited to have it and then texted me later, said, what is the recipe? It is fabulous. My whole family devoured it. I'm gonna give that one 2 thumbs up, highly rated by kids. And yes, I did share the recipe. We are going to do a Korean inspired ground beef and rice freezer meal. My ground beef here's a touch frozen still, so this is gonna take a while. I have about not quite 2 pounds, maybe 1.5 pounds of ground beef here. So while this is browning, I'm gonna mix up my sauce, and this will come to, like, cooking this beef is gonna be the longest part of the entire prep. This is one of my family's favorite meals. The sauce for our Korean beef, sorry about the sizzling in the background. In a smallish bowl, I have 1/2 cup of soy sauce. You could also use coconut aminos if you have allergies or something. 1/2 cup of brown sugar, a squeeze or so of ginger. You can use fresh ginger, you can use ground ginger. I have this puree that I really like because it's so easy and I love the flavor of ginger, so I'm gonna go about 1 tablespoon of that. Crushed red pepper flakes are next, and you can do this according to your spice preference. I happen to love it, so I'm doing a nice big pinch. Sesame oil is coming up next. I love sesame oil. 2 teaspoons of this. I do want to measure that because this stuff is strong. Whisk. And a little bonus thing, just because I want to get out of my spice cabinet. I have some black and white sesame seeds, so I'm also going to just pour those in just because I have them. This one's not necessary, but it is fun. Here is my sauce. So now we're just waiting for our ground beef to finish. A little frozen still, but some of it's come off. So now I will add some garlic. This stuff in a jar just makes this wildly easy. So maybe 1 tablespoon or 2 of garlic. We love garlic in my house, so if I go a little heavy on that, no one will have a problem with it. Just finished up the ground beef, so in comes our sauce, and that's it. We're gonna put it in a freezer-proof container, and then I'll show you how we serve it. I just wanna make sure I get every last drop of that goodness right there. Yes. My gosh, it's so delicious. I have these like restaurant grade containers that I love to freeze things in, so I'm hoping that this will all fit in here, and also that I do not make a complete mess. Oh, fingers crossed. Oh, okay, I might need to pause. Hang on. I'm still dripping on the counter. I need everyone to know that Christine has been here making stuff. Obviously, a Ziploc baggie would work maybe better than this. There we go. I got it.
By George, he's got it.
Okay, here's my lid. Korean beef just heated up. Okay, that goes on top. Now, there's several options for serving. So you can do regular rice. I have these spicy Korean rice packets. So this is what I'm gonna leave for Dave, because this is like microwave, dinner's ready. You could also do ramen noodle like this, a glass noodle, which I love, or plain rice. So that is my Korean beef, nice and easy. Now I gotta clean. The first thing we need to do for our jalapeno chicken casserole is to cook our pasta and cook our chicken. So I have 2 chicken breasts cooking right now, and let's dump our pasta in our boiling water. You can use whatever pasta you want. Woo! Oh. I have this fun curly Q pasta that I got in bulk. I just weighed out 1 pound. Bow tie is fine. Anything that can hold a creamy sauce would be a nice pasta to use. So we'll just cook this until it is almost cooked through. Very al dente. For the sauce for this casserole, I have in a saucepan 8 ounces of cream cheese diced up a little bit, 1.5 cups of milk, and 1 cup of chicken broth. And move this over to the stove, heat it up for a few minutes. We're just heating this up until it all comes together and this cream cheese melts. So not too high, we don't wanna curdle the milk here. This is your standard sheet pan. I get these in bulk from Sam's Club. They come with lids, very inexpensive. I have my totally cooked pasta, 2 cups of cooked chicken, 1 diced up jalapeno. I took the seeds out so it wasn't so bad, but if you're a little gutsy, you know, you can leave the seeds in, you can do more.
I also like to live dangerously.
And on top of this, we'll add our cheese sauce. Now that our sauce is smooth, 2 cups of Monterey Jack cheese. I'm using the baggie because it's easier. Melt that in and our sauce is done. Sauce time. Oh yeah. What is it about cream cheese sauces that are so great? Stir all this together. Any extra liquid, don't worry, the pasta will soak that up as it freezes and thaws and cooks again. So on top of this, sprinkle a little bit of cheese. I have cheddar this time. Are you even cooking if you don't spill it on the counter? That's the way you know you're really into what you're doing. I'm gonna do some bacon bits. You can do your own bacon, but this is so much easier, isn't it?
You know that bacon that's like maple? It's got maple flavor.
The maple kind, yeah.
And I've had these breadcrumbs sitting in my cabinet, like in my pantry, forever. So we are finally using up the rest of this. That feels so good. To finish up the breadcrumbs, right? You don't have to put breadcrumbs, but it just feels right, you know? That's it. This is all that is. Now I can put my lid on and put my cooking instructions for this jalapeno chicken casserole. And if you love jalapenos, you can of course top it with some extras. Cooking instructions are to thaw all the way and then bake at 350 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes, or you can cook from frozen for about an hour and a half. Keep it covered most of the time until the last 20 minutes. This freezer meal is an Italian tortellini soup with a spicy sausage. The only prep we really need to do here is to brown our sausage and cook our onion together. Everything else just gets added in and dumped in some freezer bags. I like using the Jimmy Dean hot sausage because it already adds some crushed red pepper flakes in here, which is part of the recipe if you're not using like a spicy sausage. You could also use just your regular sweet Italian sausage if you don't like spice. And also, this was on sale, so browning up the sausage. Now, onions about to hit the pan. I love that sound. It sounds like they're cheering. Onions are in, so we're gonna go a few more minutes just until they're translucent.
It is translucent in the sun.
I have my bag and I wrote on here what it is and any instructions. So in this one, we're just gonna add 2 extra cups of water. And you only need about half of a bag like this, so it's actually a great recipe to double. And I mean, if you're gonna make a freezer meal, doesn't making 2 for the effort of 1 just makes sense? It does to me. So here come our tortellinis. This is the cheese one, but you can use whichever one you want. Some garlic, you could do powder, or this, it's actually a good amount. A tablespoon or so. You can do 1 can of diced tomatoes, but I have these home canned crushed tomatoes that I'm gonna be using today. Your favorite canned tomato product, just 1 can. Next up is about 5 ounces of spinach. You can do canned, you can do frozen, you can do fresh. It kind of really doesn't matter. This is a frozen one that I thawed just a little bit so I could get it in the back nicely. Mostly because I don't even know why I bought this, but it was just hanging out in my freezer for who knows how long. Excellent way to use this up. Sausage and onion mixture is next. 1.5 teaspoons of Italian seasoning and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Or if you did use the spicy sausage, you don't have to add this part. Crushed red pepper flakes if you like. I already have the spicy sausage, so I'm gonna skip that this time. And 1 quart of chicken broth. So I have this one that I got on clearance from a discount store, which was amazing because this brand at Costco is very expensive. I'm gonna add this whole bag and see if it'll all fit. I have it, so why not? If you notice, I put on here, add 2 cups of water when it's time to reheat. Let's go ahead and seal that, lay it flat, and stick it in the freezer. To reheat, all you have to do is pour it in a pot, put it in your Instant Pot, crock pot, whatever, and just heat it through and you're done. For our stuffed taco shells, I have 1.5 pounds of ground beef in here that I browned with nothing in it. There's nothing else in here. And we'll add a few more ingredients. I have 5 ounces of cream cheese, a tablespoon of chili powder. I, of course, will eyeball that. That looks close-ish. And a nice drizzle of taco sauce. I'll do about half this bottle. My hands are a little slippery, so, okay, that's not working. Oh no.
Slippery little suckers.
There we go. Okay, we'll just kind of melt all this together until it makes this nice sauce that we will use to fill our jumbo pasta shells that I already cooked and drained and rinsed with cold water. I used an entire pound box, so hopefully our measurements are close here. Once everything is combined, it looks pretty smooth. Time to sprinkle in some cheese. You can do a Mexican blend. I just have this sharp cheddar that I'm gonna use, about a half a cup or so. Stir all that in, and we are ready to put the whole thing together. I have a greased freezer meal pan and my taco shells. These are cool, so I'm not gonna burn my fingers, and a 1 tablespoon scooper. So I will heap it up a little bit and fill them about like that and layer them in here. So here we go. How cute are these? Okay, now that we're at this stage, all we're gonna do is top with our remaining taco sauce. A little sprinkle of cheese right there on top. And we are done. Go ahead and freeze that, and then when it's time to cook, 350 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes. If it is thawed. If it is not thawed, it's gonna be closer to an hour and a half. Wow. That was a lot, my friends. That was a ton of recipes. Which one are you going to try first? I hope you try them. I hope you love them. If you made it this far, subscribe if you haven't yet. Try it out. It feels good. Just hit that button. Just click it. Just give it a little tap, tap, taparoo. Just a little tappy tap. And until I see you next time, happy eating.